Good morning. It's Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm here on the central coast of California where we don't have any fires right now. So I'm thankful for that, even though we have been dealing with the public safety power shutoffs. But fortunately, we live in the mountains. We're accustomed to losing power in the winter storms, and so we have a generator. So we've been able to keep going here, even through the power shutoffs. But it's a new world, isn't it? It's really a new world, and it sort of brings home that what we need to do is establish microgrids and not have these big, huge grids, distribution networks, especially with a private company like PG&E, who is focused on profits and paying their executives huge amounts rather than actually keeping their infrastructure up to date. Anyway, rant over. My topic today is really about things I've been reading about Mary Magdalene and about her idea of true humanity, which according to the Gospels of Mary Magdalene actually came from Jesus to her. And you may know that, I think it was last year, or maybe the year before, Pope Francis declared Mary Magdalene the apostle to the apostles, acknowledging her as one of the original leaders and teachers of the Christian church. And she was really ousted from that position by some of the male apostles who didn't like the idea of having a woman be powerful, be a leader, be in charge, and be a teacher to them. So we're still struggling with this cultural paradigm that the male of the species is superior to the female of the species, and that logic and the brain are the most important thing. And women, in many religious traditions have been sort of stuffed down and suppressed, and many religions in our world, even at this time, although it's getting better, still have this idea that only men can be spiritual teachers. And I even have a former student in the Wise Women Immersion who was actually told by a guru that she was following many years ago that women cannot become enlightened. So we are in this time of reclaiming the divine feminine. The teachings of Mary Magdalene are being unearthed and brought forward. And a friend of mine, who's a sister, also a Dove Oracle priestess, is on a pilgrimage to the Mary Magdalene sites in France right now. And she recommended a book that I've been reading called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And I just came across something in here yesterday that really spoke to me because it completely fits with what I have been receiving from Spirit in my conversations with spirit guides, which is that our job here on earth is to integrate our human and divine selves. And that is what true humanity actually is, and that this is the great work for people who are followers of Jesus. And he apparently taught this to Mary Magdalene. She attempted to teach this to the other apostles who didn't want to receive teaching from her, and eventually really pushed her out of the church, and then in the following centuries buried her writings and teachings. So it's coming from within, and it's really fundamentally about love. Now, the words that I've received from Spirit about the work that I do in the world is healing the soul's voice to joyfully express its divine purpose. And the way I have described that is that means bringing our fully expressed embodied human voice together with our fully expressed divine self voice and bringing them both through this miraculous throat chakra into the world. And this is a little bit similar. So it's about becoming a true human being. And I have this on my iPad, so I can't really show you the book cover. Sorry about that. But this is really stepping into the ministry of Jesus and kind of taking away some of the distortions that have been overlaid on his teachings over the centuries. So connecting within our hearts to the same love that Jesus made incarnate. And the story of spiritual authority as it became in the Christian church was that only men could be spiritual authorities. And even still in the Catholic Church today, only men can become priests. And there's a teaching that you have to have an intermediary to speak to God, and only priests can speak to God. So even nuns can't supposedly speak to God directly. They still have to speak to God through a priest. And of course, many nuns just speak to God directly anyway, or God as they see God. But in this book, Mary's Gospel points out that souls are not sexed. So as we are both a human in a body, we are also a soul or a divine being, and the soul is not sexed. So the sexuality, sex, and gender ascribed to the body are ultimately illusory. We are all souls that cannot be defined by our physical form. Therefore, spiritual authority cannot be determined by a person's sex, gender, or sexuality, but rather by the depth of their spiritual transformation and subsequent wholeness. So it's our inner work of uniting human self with divine self, self with soul, that actually gives us spiritual authority. And I've talked before about how the best spiritual mentors and my favorite spiritual mentors are always continuing to do their own work and continuing to learn and grow. And they don't get stuck or fossilized with a certain dogma and not continue to do that inner work. And that's when the shadow self can really take over and we can get sexually abusive spiritual leaders. So the imperative in Mary's Gospel is to become the child of true humanity, which means fully human and fully divine. It means becoming fully conscious of the eternal unbounded soul while here in this human form. And Megan Watterson says, this translates to me as trying and faltering and trying again to cultivate this love inside us. It means doing all we can to be the presence of love. And that's what our true inner work enables us to do, is to really become more and more that presence of love. We can embody love, which I have received is actually the essence of creation. So the energy of creation itself is this energy of love. And so the more that we attune ourselves to the energy of creation, which is all around us, it's not just up there, it's all around us, it's in our energy fields, and it's below us in the earth as well. And that process of balancing ourselves, of becoming a true human being, incorporating all of our human self with the divine self, is also about balancing our frequencies. And I've talked about this before too. I don't believe in raising my vibration or raising my frequency. I believe in balancing and harmonizing my frequencies, plural, and vibrations, plural, because we actually are a family of frequencies. And if we didn't have any low frequencies, we wouldn't have the Schumann resonances from Earth, the deep Earth frequencies that we rely on for health and well-being. It creates that wonderful Earth magnetic field that that is important to our existence. We wouldn't exist without it in these bodies. So creating that balance and being able to be human and divine at the same time, and find that way of integrating those two and coming into that essence of love, so that then we can actually radiate that love out into the world. So the more we do our inner work, the more we work with our own shadow, the more we love all of our inner parts, including our ego. This is one place where I disagree with Megan Watterson. She talks about the ego as the bad thing kind of throughout the book so far. And I really believe it's important to make an ally out of our ego so that we can use the positive ego functions that it has of helping us create boundaries and helping us move ourselves forward and move into actually doing things in the world that are important to us. So it's creating that balance, creating that inner alignment, connecting with fully our human selves and enjoying the fact that we're here in this human body and having all of the emotions and everything that we have as human beings, and bringing that into alignment with our divine self so that we are this true human being aligned in this essence of love. And more of us who can do this, the better, because as we radiate that love out, it actually can shift and change those around us. And we can help create the change that we need by becoming these greater radiators of love as we do our inner work. So I help people do this in private mentoring in the Wise Woman Immersion. And my new modality of biofield tuning really helps us be able to let go of and clear, not get rid of, but clear old issues and bring energy back into the center of the body so that we can become more fully embodied here in this human self and enjoy our process of living in this human body from that essence of love. See you next time.